A very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to Vogan's European Outlook for Monday, the 23rd of October. This is the current scene at Mark Vogan HQ, looking out the back, and it has been a second beautiful autumnal day in a row here after the mess of Friday, well, really Thursday, Friday, and Saturday here across, not only the north of Scotland, but across many portions of the British Isles and indeed Ireland as well, with tremendous amounts of rainfall. The station here at the house is now recorded over and approaching 230 millimetres of rain this October so far, and we have still got a little bit more rain to come before month's end. So it blows September's 124 mil out of the water as the wettest month of the year so far. It really has been an extraordinary spell of weather, that's for sure. And this morning's low of minus 1.1 Celsius was in fact the coldest temperature recorded here since the 26th of April. So a rather chilly morning. The grass, as you can see here behind the weather station, was very white indeed with frost this morning. And I wouldn't be surprised if we, stay relatively cloud free through at least the first half of the night. I think we will get close to, minus territory again this evening here, so we'll wait and see how cold the temperatures get. This was the temperatures across the British Isles, fairly mild across southern Ireland and parts of southern England, albeit once you got inland, even across parts of Oxfordshire, Cambridgeshire, etc., we had temperatures down into low to mid single figures. But then get north, up into the north of England, and we had the temperatures below freezing quite a wide area. I think Braemar reached minus 4 points something this morning, so a fairly cold morning by October standards, really, actually. And you can see here widespread temperatures into the minus digits here, minus 3 at Aviemore, minus 1.2 at Altnahara, minus 2.5 at Loch Liscarnock here, but it was 14.2 Celsius at St Catherine's Point on the Isle of Wight this morning, so a fairly mild morning along the south coast of the Isle of Wight this morning. Looking at the temperature anomalies for the month to date, by the way, this is quite interesting. We've kind of slightly turned the corner here across Highland Scotland, where you can see here faint blues now starting to show up over parts of the Northwest Highlands and also Grampian. So temperatures nudging slightly below average now for the month of October, firmly below average across Norway, Sweden and Finland, as you can see here, but then also firmly warmer than average across the bulk of Europe here. So generally speaking, we've got well over 50% of the continent above average for the month of October, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this month pans out in terms of rainfall. Also, very, very unsettled conditions maintain itself through the course of this week. Nowhere near on par with what we had last week, but you can see here off the ECMWF, we've got the tropical Atlantic at the moment with Tammy, a hurricane, but it's not really going to go anywhere. This area of high pressure that's stretched out between all the way from near Iberia and northwestern Africa all the way to the United States here. This is kind of shutting the door to Tammy trying to lift north into the North Atlantic. So I don't think we've got any issue with regards to Tammy, but you notice here we do have low pressure going to continue to maintain itself. Now this is the current situation here, and we've got an area of low pressure that we need to keep our eyes on over the far North Atlantic here. We've also got an area of low pressure over southern and southwestern portions of Ireland. There's that area of high pressure that brought the chilly morning this morning. You can see here off the visible satellite image, clear skies over northern portions of the UK. The majority of Britain is actually under largely cloudy skies. Ireland is the same. But you can see here this large complex area of low pressure out over the North Atlantic. We've got that secondary feature over southwestern portions of Ireland here. Now with this, that area of low pressure, we do have rain to speak about across parts of the Republic of Ireland. As you can see here, this is the current radar, and we've got a little bit edging into, what would that be, East Sussex and Kent. very marginal, but you've got some fairly heavy rainfall on the French side of the channel, as you can see here. Also, northwest France extending into parts of Cornwall, possibly West Devon. And then we've got some fairly heavy rainfall across the Dublin area, or maybe just slightly south of Dublin. Northern Ireland, we've got a few showers to speak about, high and dry across the majority of the UK, as you can see here, which is quite interesting at the moment here. But this frontal system will move north and northeastwards here. We've also got this feature that may edge further north here over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. Arctic oscillation, by the way, is expected to go slightly positive, as you can see here, as we move into the month of November. This is according to the latest GFS ensemble. You can see anyway, it's going positive. And the North Atlantic oscillation looks as if it's going to remain generally neutral. That would keep the Atlantic door open here across Ireland and the UK for the next week or two anyway. Is there any indications of anything settling down much? I don't think so, not at the moment anyway. You can see here that the Atlantic is fairly active. We've got an area of low pressure that we need to keep an eye on as we move towards the middle portion of this week. Area of low pressure over the North Atlantic, the North Sea, that is going to provide a new, renewed easterly flow and possible some persistent and times heavy rainfall into the areas that have been so badly hit by flooding from Storm Babette. You can see here this area of low pressure that is a fairly deep feature. You notice here there's multiple areas of low pressure, one over the North Atlantic, one to its east that has formed a 965 millibar low. We've got that low over northern France. That is going to possibly have implications on southern and southeastern England. Then you've got that other system, a fourth system over the North Atlantic. I keep saying North Atlantic, the North Sea, sorry. And that is going to try and drive an easterly flow in, bringing some further spells of rain, persistent rain at that, to areas of, Tyneside, Northumberland, up towards the borders, Fife, Tayside, Angus, Aberdeenshire, all the way up towards Rossshire, Caithness, Sutherland, etc., etc. We're going to see more rain, but nowhere near on par with what we've seen so far. But you can see here the situation that develops. Then we've got that area of low pressure that starts to have more influence, edging multiple frontal systems in off the Atlantic into the British Isles and Ireland here, and just reinforcing that messy, unsettled conditions that we've seen so much of through the course of October here. And then as we play right the way through towards the end of the week, we just maintain this unsettled theme. Notice here there's not a great deal of movement, by the way, with this pattern. We've got quite a lot of blocking to the north, and thankfully it's nowhere near as acute of a situation as what we've seen back at the end of last week here. But certainly this is not a great pattern considering the amount of rain that we've seen, not only through the past week, but really through the course of October, generally speaking here. And this is a very, very unsettled theme in terms of the dominance of low pressure, taking us all the way towards the end of the month here. This is the month of November expected. This is the GFS or the CFSv2 500 millibar geopotential heights here for November, and you can see here a firm, somewhat of a positive NAO pattern. Now this is a bit of a flip around from what I showed you about a week or so ago with a negative NAO pattern. So it shows you how volatile this pattern is so far this month, where we've, the models are having a hard time distinguishing what type of pattern we're going to see. But you can see here where it's like kind of reinforcing the unsettled theme into the month of November here, generally speaking. So that would certainly indicate a firmly Atlantic-driven setup with that strong positive over the Kara Sea, over the Ural Mountains here, northwestern portions of Russia here. I think this would indicate more of an Atlantic pattern into Western Europe here, keeping things relatively mild and relatively wet compared to average as well here. Here's a close-up view of Europe, and you can see here the extension of that trough from Atlantic into the UK and Ireland here, ridging across the majority of Europe. that certainly would indicate a fairly mild November, and that would certainly not be an entirely big surprise here. Looking at the temperature anomaly here for the month, you can see here generally warmer than average. Remember that the Atlantic is warmer than average, and of course if you get that general westerly flow, you would expect to see warmer than average here. Looking at precipitation, and you certainly with this setup, no surprise here, wetter than average November. This has turned out to be a very wet autumn overall, given what we've seen back in September. Not an exceptionally wet September, but a wetter than average September nonetheless. A firmly wetter than average October, probably on par with the wettest on record for particularly Scotland and even Northern England, parts of Northern Ireland possibly. And if this certainly was to materialise, then it's turning out to be a very, very wet autumn generally. Of course, November being the final month of meteorological autumn, then we would step into the month of December, which of course would be the start of winter 2023-24. Lots of winter chat to come. Even this week, we're going to look more at El Nino and other climate drivers, and starting to kind of indicate a little bit about where I'm going with the winter forecast overall. So we'll watch this space as we go forward here. Okay, so let's switch things up a wee bit. Let's look at the ARPEG 0.1 model now here. So this is the total accumulated precipitation between now and 5 a.m. UTC on Friday. And you can see here a lot of heavy precipitation across parts of northwestern Iberia, through the central swathe of France, parts of southern Europe here, Italy, and into the Balkan region here, but also areas that have seen a lot of heavy precipitation recently here. Let's have a look and hone in on Scotland in particular, because this is quite interesting to see here the amount of rainfall that we may see. So a further 40, 50, 60 millimetres of rain expected in parts of Angus and southern Aberdeenshire, and also parts of Rochester in the southern and that coastal strip really of Sutherland and South Caithness. Quite heavy precipitation between now and Friday morning here. So we need to watch this situation quite carefully, because this is the bullseye of areas that have seen such incredible heavy rainfall in recent days as well. It looks as if it's going to be more of the same in the coming days here. Finally, some incredible heat across parts of Europe in recent times. By the way, Moldova has seen a new October record set on the 21st of October. This is quite astonishing, actually. This particular station here recorded 34.4 Celsius, according to extreme temperatures around the world. Brutal, unbelievable temperature for the third half of October, and would be well above the July average. So remarkable heat in parts of Moldova and southeastern Europe in recent times. Also saw incredible warmth. Overnight minimums of 25 Celsius in Greece, daytime maximums 34 in Turkey and Cyprus. So remarkable temperatures across southeastern portions of Europe. In stark contrast, I think yesterday morning we've seen one station in Sweden record a new seasonal low of minus 23 Celsius. So winter certainly is starting to knock on the door of northern parts of Europe here, in recent times. So I think that is pretty much it for now. And like I say, do stay tuned. Some hill snow here to speak about in Cairngorm over the course of the weekend as that colder air dug in from the east here. So some nice wintry scenes now starting to show up in the highest elevations of Scotland here. And yeah, you would expect to see that being the case really as we go into the second half of October here. Finally, look at this time lapse here, an astonishing time lapse of the river rise over the course of the weekend here, thanks to the tremendous deluge brought by Storm Babette here. So that is a very scary looking image, that is for sure here. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I do greatly appreciate it. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow with more weather videos. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.